What's up? Welcome back to BROJO Online YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Please subscribe and hit the notifications button if you want to get more of this shit. So, today I want to talk about questions. As a coach, I've learned that asking the right question at the right time can absolutely transform someone's life. It's probably one of the most powerful tools you can use when it's done right. So today I want to share 5 of the biggest questions that I've ever been asked or learned to ask myself that have completely transformed my life. I'm going to start at the beginning. The very first question I ever asked myself to go from living automatically to what you might call self-development, living consciously, trying to figure some shit out. I'm about 24, 25 at the time, I think. And the movie I Am Legend with Will Smith came out. I don't know why, but it affected me. And the thing that affected me about the movie, other than scaring the shit out of me with those bald guys going like this all the time, was that he was all alone. And the bit at the start where he's like driving around and hunting and playing golf with just him and his dog, it stood out to me. It really hit me because I thought that's what a completely alone life looks like. Now, the reason that was such a big deal for me personally is because up until that moment in my life, I had depended entirely on approval and validation from others to enjoy my life. I couldn't get by without it. Don't get me wrong, I had moments, I enjoyed reading books, I had little hobbies I did by myself, and I could enjoy those moments. But a vast majority, 95% plus of my self-worth came from other people. And when I saw that movie, I thought, well, he can't get anything from other people. He's completely deprived of that resource. I guess that's what I thought anyway. And so it raised this question. How could I enjoy my life if no one else liked me? Now, it's not like a depressed hypothetical, like, how am I supposed to enjoy my life? It was an actual question, like, how am I supposed to enjoy my life if no one else likes me? What if it was somehow not possible for me to get approval or validation from any other person? No matter what I did, nobody could ever give me positive feedback. And the reason I wanted to ask myself that question is because it's like a heroin addict asking themselves, how could I enjoy my life without drugs? I'm asking myself, how can I enjoy my life without the crutch that I depend on every single day that also is my slave master? That other people's approval and validation was so important to me that I actually depended on it, which means they controlled me. So what I was really asking is, what would it look like to get control of my life back? To be the source of approval and validation so that I never, ever depended on anyone else to make me enjoy my life and enjoy who I am. That wasn't a question that was answered overnight. It actually took about a decade, really, to fully flesh out the answer to that question, to design a way of living that I now teach or help people discover for themselves, with integrity and confidence. But ultimately, that was a question that started it. Like, what if I'm Will Smith? No friends. Nobody can like me. How am I supposed to enjoy my days? How am I supposed to fill my time? What activities should I be doing? That was the first big question that transformed my life. That was the one that started everything for me. The next big question is one that I actually came to use thousands and thousands of times and sometimes still use to this day. It is a practical question to get in touch with your core values, especially when you don't actually know what they are yet. And that question is, what would a confident guy do in this situation? We don't really know what it means for us to be confident until we get there. We're kind of guessing. And we often don't really know what our core values are until we kind of test them and figure them out and use resources to kind of unravel the mystery. But I've found almost without fail, all of my clients who use this question, what would a confident guy do in this situation, or girl? The answer pops into their mind instantaneously. And 9 times out of 10, they know that it's the answer. There isn't confusion. Now, the answer isn't always something you can do. In fact, often it's something that's beyond your current level of courage or skill, even. But the answer is there. When I was single, for example, I'd be walking down the street and I'd see a girl that I find attractive, and I ask myself that question: what would a confident guy do? He'd go talk to her, right? It's not hard. I'm in a meeting at work and my boss is giving me shit and it's unfair. What would a confident guy do? He'd stand up for himself. It's not hard. The answer to that question is really obvious. You're sitting there tucking into a big piece of cake, emotionally eating because you can't handle stress. What would a confident guy do? Put the cake away and go for a walk or something. The answer is really quite obvious. And if you want to know what you being confident would look like, just keep answering this question. You don't have to pressure yourself to actually follow through with the answer, though if you do, you're going to totally transform your life. You're going to become the guy rather than just asking about who he is. You're going to be him. But at the very least, you'll be able to see why you're not enjoying your life, because you're constantly choosing a different option to what he would do. When you see the person you're attracted to and you just ignore them and walk away, that's why you don't enjoy your life, because you're like that. When your boss gives you shit and you back down and just eat it, that's why you don't like being who you are, because you do that. So the question, what would a confident guy do, is really telling you, what's the recipe for you to enjoy being who you are and enjoy your life all the time? Because you just do whatever the answer to that question is, always, or as often as possible. I've found about 80% of the time is most that you need. And then you have a good life and you like who you are. Third question. What would my future self want me to do? Have you ever felt like you've been dropped into your life and left with a mess that your past created, like he's some other guy? You notice that thing? Let's say you get into a position where, let's say you're in lots of bad debt and you're in a crappy relationship and you hate your job and your friends are losers. Do you ever get the feeling like you've just been plonked there, oh, thanks very much? What the fuck is this shit? I didn't sign up for this. How did I get here? It almost feels like you've been handed this hospital pass from someone else, hey, here's a shit life, good luck. Or if you've never felt like that, maybe you can just do that exercise now. Just imagine you just dropped into this life. How would you feel about it? Imagine you start neutral and you're just given, boom, the life that you've currently got, being the person that you currently are. Would you be like, sweet, this is a good deal? Or you'd be like, well, that's just pretty fucking rat shit. Well, that's the problem that comes from your past self not thinking about you now. Right? When you made decisions 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 months ago, fucking 10 minutes ago, you weren't thinking about you now, you were thinking about him back then, what he immediately wanted to feel comfortable. And now you, right now, are paying the price for those past decisions. I have a cholesterol problem. It's genetic mostly, but it's very much aggravated by years and years of binge drinking and eating lots of shitty food. Thanks a lot, Past Dan. Way to give me a fucking permanent health issue, you bastard. Because back then, when I picked up a drink, I didn't think, what will 37-year-old Dan want me to do right now? I just thought, what do I want to do right now? I'll rack up the debt, somebody else can pay the bill. That's the thing, you're always going to have to pay the bill that you rack up. So if you start asking yourself, I like you to use 5 years, you start asking yourself, me 5 years from now, what would he want me to do right here, right now? Or she, of course. Looking at what you're currently about to do, let's say you're about to pick up a big fucking drink of alcohol, and you just stop and you go, me 5 years from now, looking back at this moment, is this what I want? Is this what I'm hoping I would do? Whatever debt this racks up? When you're thinking, should I stay in this shit job or start my own business? Do you think, 5 years from now, when I look back, what will I wish the choice had been at that time? Again, just like the last question, you're not always going to be able to follow through on the answer, but this is a great way to help you take responsibility for your life. You might feel that you're unlucky, that the things happening in your life are unfair, that you've been hard done by. No, your past self brought you to this moment. Nothing but your decisions have landed you where you currently are. Even if you were given limited options, you still reacted to them. Okay. Even if you live in a country with limited options, you still had options and you chose them between them, and now here you are. So if you don't like where you've ended up, then maybe the next best move is to make sure your future self doesn't have that same experience. What if, you 5 years from now looks back and go, fuck, I'm glad he turned it around 5 years ago and finally started making some good calls. I often ask myself, when I'm really struggling with a high stakes decision, should I move to another country? Should I propose marriage? Should we have a kid? I ask my future self, what do you want me to do? And most of the time, he's pretty clear on that. It's only my current self that's freaking out about the issue. Him, 5 years after it's already happened and it's all sorted out, he loves it, right? So let him decide for you, because he is the person you're going to be. He's the one that's going to collect on your decision making. Make it easy for him. Give him a good life. Next one, number 4. I actually got this from Game of Thrones. The character Littlefinger, Peter Baelish, who's actually an evil character in the story, but this little question he comes up with is excellent. He was asked about how he makes decisions, and he talked about how he has this vision of himself sitting on the throne, ruling. He's the man, right? He has this vision of it. And he said, basically, whenever an opportunity comes up, I ask myself, does this take me toward the vision or away from it? Words to that effect. He says, if it takes me towards it, I do it. And if not, I don't. Most simple decision-making tool you can imagine. Very similar to the last question, like what will my future self want? But this is more of like, what will create the future I want? The life that I want. And I don't mean materialistic, necessarily. I don't mean what's going to make me lots of money or make me popular or make me good with the ladies or anything like that. It's more like a way of living that you want to have. I, for example, want to have a lot of freedom in the way I live. I want to be able to just do whatever the fuck I want and not be beholden to anybody, not be controlled or enslaved by anybody. So when I look at decisions that I'm making, I ask myself, does that lead toward the future vision? And sometimes the answer is not negative, but neutral. It's like, I don't know. It probably doesn't contribute or hurt the future vision. And if you want to get really essential in your decision making, you'd say no to even neutral stuff. So you're going to be saying no a lot when you ask yourself this question. Somebody says, hey, you want to come to a party on Friday night, and your future vision is to be, the next Steve Jobs. You ask yourself, well, going to this party contribute to that? If the answer is no, then you don't go. If the answer is I'm unsure, you don't go. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have any fun because you've got some big serious future vision. It's not like that. But it's more about those sort of higher stakes decisions where you're going to use up a lot of your time and resources and energy. You're going to spend money. You're going to spend hours. You're going to live a certain way. This is basically a way of asking, is this worth it? Is this taking me where I want to be going? Because if it's not, or I'm not sure, then no. Leave the space open. Leave the resources available for something that's a yes. And the final question is my latest question that I've added to my repertoire. And it's actually based on my experience playing chess. I'm very crap at chess, but I have been playing it for a while, and kind of it's my latest hobby that I'm learning. And when you play chess online and you lose, as I do, you can go and get the computer to analyze what you did, and kind of it'll pick up where you did things that were wrong, mistakes as they're called, or inaccuracies or blunders. And when it does that, it gives you the option of showing you what the best move would have been in that situation. I mean, it's a computer that does all the calculations. It looks at all the pieces and goes, out of all the things you could do, this is by far statistically the best move. Move this pawn here, slide the queen over there, whatever the fuck it is. And if you want to win at chess, before you get to like grandmaster level where they're all like geniuses and some of them can beat the computer or whatever, but lower down from that, the best way to win chess is not necessarily to have a great strategy or to be really technically proficient. It's to just be really good at knowing what the next best move is. If you're really good at that, you're really hard to beat. You're going to have what's called a high accuracy level. And basically, chess is a game of losers. The person who makes the most mistakes loses. It's not the other person wins. It's the most accurate person is least likely to lose, right? So all you have to do is be as accurate as possible, and the other person will throw the game away, basically. And that's kind of how life works. It's very hard to know how to live long term. If you look back 10 years ago, the decisions you made, you're like, oh, I didn't know it's going to end up like that. Because you never do. You can't really think far into the future. It's like trying to predict the weather. The weather people, they can do it maybe 1-2 days before they start losing accuracy. They try to predict the weather weeks or months from now, they're definitely going to be wrong, right? You just can't do it. But what you normally can do as far as predicting is go, what's the next best move? Often this is just a choice between two things. For example, you're about to go and buy some food for lunch, and there's a couple of options available at the lunch bar. And you go, what's the next best move? You got to spot the healthiest meal right away, aren't you? And if you're out socializing and you're feeling a bit tired, and you go, what's the next best move? It's probably just going home, and so on and so forth. Just asking yourself, like, of all the moves available to me, what's probably the best one for winning the game in the long run? You won't always have the answer to it. But I've been using this question a lot, and most of the time the answer's at least clear enough for me to feel no regret at what I choose. I thought that was the next best move. And most of the time it is, and sometimes I'm wrong. But the high accuracy rate means the best possible life. I get through difficult situations better when I'm looking for the next best move, rather than looking at things like what do I feel like doing, or just going on autopilot and just letting your body decide for you without really thinking about it. That's very rarely going to be the best move available. Right? This is about getting your rational mind involved in your decision making. Like, really, of all the things I want to do, fuck that. What do I actually need to do most next? Do that. So I hope you found that helpful. Those are the 5 big questions. I mean, I've got thousands more, but those 5 are pretty fucking effective. And I hope you can give them a test run, see how they affect you. And of course, if you want to hear more great questions from me personally, then get in touch about coaching. Dan@brojo.org. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you all next time. Cheers.